Good morning, I'm Ratna, and today we will do two stories about flying. This is a short story. In fact, there are two short stories, one by Liam of Lahati and the other is by Frederick Fawcett. Liam of Lahati, of course, was an Irishman, and his style is a little different from Frederick Fawcett's style, of course. But both the stories, there is something in common. That is why the two stories have been clubbed together. Let's see what is the common factor. Now, the common factor in both the stories is about flying, right? And if we think about flying, man learned to fly from birds. It was the fact that birds could fly that kind of, inspired men also to try to conceive an idea, how to fly and communicate over distances. Airplanes were not born overnight, and it must have taken years and years for them to come up with a successful airplane, as we see today. But this story is about flying. On one hand, the bird flies. Again, no bird can fly without someone's help. In the same way, an airplane can also fly, again with help. So, keeping that in mind, let us start the story. Before we start reading the story, let us talk about humans. In the earliest times, humans have dreamt of conquering the skies. And who inspired them? Birds, right? Now, like I said, in these two stories, it is all about flying. So, we begin first with the story of a bird, a young seagull, who is trying to fly. If you have seen a bird who's just hatched from an egg, cannot fly the very next day. It takes the bird some time to get used to the fact that he has to fly out. And not only that, the bird has to strengthen its wings, and then once his wings are strengthened, once he's ready, of course, with his parents' help, he then flies out. So, how does he conquer his fear of flying? Obviously, that little bird who has just been in the egg and been protected in the nest would be afraid to face the world. How does the bird conquer this fear? This is the first story. The second one, a pilot is lost in storm clouds. Man may have conquered the skies, but man can never conquer nature, right? So, a pilot who is lost in the storm clouds. You know what storm clouds are? Up in the sky, when there are dense clouds, many of you have taken a flight and you have felt the turbulence. Mind you, that turbulence was just, when you're sitting in a very, very sophisticated aircraft. Imagine if it is a very, uh, you know, primitive kind of an aircraft and you face a storm, and a storm can be very, very fierce. The entire aircraft will be tossed from one end to the other end. So this particular pilot is lost in such a storm cloud, has lost contact with his with the ground staff, and completely, it's dark and he can't see. There is no visibility, he can't see. So the story is about, does he arrive safe and who helps him? So there's a little bit of mystery in that. So the mystery will unfold as we do the lesson. Okay. So we begin with the first one, the his first flight. It's called His First Flight by who? Liam of Lahati. The young seagull was alone on his ledge. What's a seagull? A seagull is a bird you will find near the sea. It has long legs, it is usually white in color, and it has a pointed beak, right? So, this baby seagull was alone on his ledge. A ledge, a little bit of a piece of cliff, maybe, or a piece of platform where he was standing there. He had hatched out of his egg, and he didn't know how to fly. His two brothers and his sisters had already flown away the day before. So they had already flown away. They were smarter, perhaps. He had been afraid to fly with them. So of his, so many siblings, of so many little baby birds, this particular seagull was afraid. His brothers and sisters had taken off. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. So the moment he tried to flap his wings and came to the edge, to the extreme end of the ledge, he started feeling insecure. The great expanse of sea stretched down beneath, and it was such a long way down, miles down. So he was at a higher altitude, and below him he could see the vast expanse of the sea, right? And he was afraid, he was really afraid to let go of his wings and fly out into the sea. So, from this, it is very clear that even a bird, nature's own making, even a bird who nature has made, so that the bird can fly, is afraid before he really starts flying, right? He felt certain that his wings would never support him. He was insecure. He was afraid his wings were too weak. So he bent his head and ran away back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. So you can visualize this ledge, perhaps of a cliff. On one end is the wide expanse of air, below the ledge is the sea, and at the other end there's a little hole where the bird can hide, right? Even when each of his brothers and his little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink, flapped their wings, and flew away, he failed to muster up courage to take that plunge which appeared to him so desperate. Right? So his brothers and sisters were far, they had wings whose wings were far shorter than his own. So this particular bird had probably hatched earlier. So his wings were bigger and stronger. But his little brothers and sisters who had come a little later had smaller wings, probably not as strong as his. But they ran to the brink, flapped their wings, and flew away. He failed to muster up courage. He was a timid one. He was scared. He was timid. So he was more like a coward. So he didn't have the courage to take that plunge, fly out, off the ledge into the world, which appeared to him so desperate. He felt it was such a desperate act. He was not that desperate. So he could not kind of muster the courage. His mother and father had come around calling to him shrilly. The seagulls, make a shrill sound. So the mother and father must have been coming, making that shrill sound all around him, cajoling him, coaxing him to fly out. Come on, flap your wings and let go. Upbraiding him, scolding him, you know, telling him, threatening him with dire consequences, threatening him to and what were the consequences? That they wouldn't give him food. Let him starve on the ledge unless he flew away. But for the life of him, he could not move. He was so terrified. He was afraid to flap his wings. He was secure with his legs on the ledge. He was afraid to let go. Right?
Now, subscribe to Bright Tutee course at ₹1 per day only. Download Bright Tutee app from Play Store and get the online courses prepared by competent and experienced teachers for different education boards of classes 6 to 10. Bright Tutee courses are available for the subjects of Math, Science, Social Science, English and Hindi in English and Hindi medium. Bright Tutee follows 3-step approach, that is learning, assessment and exam preparation. In learning, topic-wise video lectures with explanation of concepts and discussion of textbook examples and questions are available with the solutions. In assessment, topic-wise online MCQ test, practice assignments and chapter-wise question bank are available with the solutions. In exam preparation, previous year's question papers, sample papers, and model test papers are available with the solutions. Sign up today on Bright Tutee and avail your courses at affordable prices.